Hey, everybody. It's your old pal Tom here on the Tom Gulley Show. I've been doing a show for 6 minutes or so. YouTube, for some reason, put me in preview mode, and I'm not real happy about it. But let me tell you about the Farmington mine disaster. And by the way, the show I just did before I figured that out, it was killer. It was killer. I was floating and emoting, and I was doing it. You should have been there. It was a thing of beauty. I'm going to just perfectly, identically replicate everything I did earlier. Let me tell you about the Farmington mine disaster, okay? Which, of course, happened in West Virginia. Some people call it West Virginia. It's really West Virginia is how we'll refer to it. It is the deadliest mine disaster in the history of the United States. We'll tell you the reasons it happened, and we'll tell you all the things that resulted from that. Don't you know? We really will. So we got that going for us. We really do. Now, what did I do the first time I did this doggone show? Oh, yeah. I really should have some banjo music in the background through the entirety of today's show. At the time I did the first version of the show, I was talking about the fact that I would likely go to YouTube's royalty-free music area and try to find some. Well, in the interim, I have actually 100% gone and tried to find some. And it's really difficult. They don't tell you what instruments they have. So it'll be a surprise to both of us. I went and found some, I think. But like every single other music downloading service on the planet, they give you genre and beats per minute and do you want vocal. They give you a lot of things. But they don't give you the one that just tells you what instruments are in it. That's all we want is instruments. I wanted some banjo. I'm not going to listen to 100 tracks to find a banjo. Lord knows all the people that play the banjo don't have the technical ability to, Anyway. What I am going to do is play you a couple of bangers. That's right, I said bangers from our musical director, Leon Kennedy. And one of them involves a disaster. It is, of course, The Night the Spiders Attacked. And then the other one's just the newest, latest song that is just funky, fresh. All the kids are toe-tapping to it. And then when we come back, not only will I go over today's story, but we'll be able to unveil this piece of music that I have downloaded, which will either be incredibly perfect for the show and its topic today, or it'll suck. So we've got excitement on the show. Here's a couple songs. They're both awesome. If you're listening on demand on YouTube or watching on demand on YouTube or listening on audio podcast form on the 30 platforms we're on, and you don't want to hear the songs, just fast forward through them, man. That's why God made the fast forward button. So here's the tunes. Then let me tell you about the Farmington mine disaster.
It was late, one even smooth and mellow and sweet. Tom Gulley on the airwaves laying down that beat. He heard a little rustle tapping soft and discreet. Turned around and saw some spiders dancing on their feet. All their legs were shiny gold and the rhythm pure heat. He thought, hold on baby, these little fellas groove kinda crazy. on abstract. Oh, honey, no one got sacked. On the night, the night, the night, the spiders attacked. Oh, that was the night the spiders attacked. Silver legs shimmering in every move exact. Glittering, gliding, keeping all the rhythm packed. Ooh, so heavy, every heartbeat sinking stack. Oh, honey, the whole world clapped. For the night, the night, the night, the spiders attacked. Get 'em. Bop, bop. G-U-L-L-E-Y. G-U-L-L-E-Y. Tom Gulley's here. G-U-L-L-E-Y. He's here to stay. G-U-L-L-E-Y. The Golly guarantee, that's what the people need. We're all here to see Tom Gulley. G-U-L-L-E-Y. G-U-L-L-E-Y. Tom Gulley's here. G-U-L-L-E-Y. He's here to stay. G-U-L-L-E-Y. The lights are low, so start the show. Tom's here to go, so let it G-U-L-L-E-Y. G-U-L-L-E-Y. Tom Gulley's here. G-U-L-L-E-Y. He's here to stay. G-U-L-L-E-Y. What? G-U-L-L-E-Y. What we talking about? What? G-U-L-L-E-Y. What we talking about? What we talking about? What we talking about? G-U-L-L-E-Y. Whoa! He's here to stay. That's what. G-U-L-L-E-Y. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking? Let me tell you about the Farmington mine disaster. And by mine, I don't mean it's like I own it. It's a where you go down in the ground and you remove ore and minerals, that kind of mine. That kind of mine. It's the deadliest mining disaster in the history of these United States, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Why it happened, what happened, why it should never happen again, frankly, I say unto thee. But if you could right now do me a favor, everybody, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the absolutely free things you can do. They only cost you a click. I've been clicking all afternoon. Nobody's asked me for any payment. These clicks are real. They're free, man. You just, whenever. And they help us out with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. And then Also, we have super chats, memberships, gifted memberships. All those things help us out with the show here. They're greatly appreciated. They'll make you look cool to other people. And then if you go to our YouTube description, a lot of great links to a lot of great things, including Leon Kennedy's music. Also, the PayPal, where you give the most, I get the most. Google doesn't get a cent of it. Then there's the TomGulleyShow.com. A lot of great articles, a lot of great old podcasts, a lot of great stuff. Plus our merchandise store, where you can get our show logo, that kitschy, dynamic show logo, on anything you want, including a shower curtain. I'm not joking. Before we get into tonight's topic, very quickly, let's go to our chat room. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. The chef is on deck, and it's my pleasure to report that we have an agreement in principle to have the chef, or perhaps multiple chefs, on the show to discuss chefing and chefness of, the chef type things. Oh, by the way, this doesn't happen very often. And this is all I'm going to say about it. But we have stupid people in our chat room. Yeah, normally we don't have stupid people. But there are stupid people in our chat room. Just ignore them. That's what I'm going to do. So the chef is here. Also, our very, very good friend, Guido Samurai, is here. He says about to have a mining accident, anxiety attack while listening to details of the demise of others. It's Gulley time. Well, we do quite a few shows of that nature. So Jean Genie's here. The Jean Genie. She says, just watch the show. Yes, Jean Genie. Thank you. Jean Genie's never brought anything in here but good vibrations, by God. Our good friend Leon Kennedy says, by the way, it's my birthday today, the 23rd, although it's the 24th here now. I did nothing all day. It was great. Happy birthday to Wizard Records Music, or as we know him, Leon Kennedy, who was with us Friday night for the Sherlock Holmes show. He knows everything about Sherlock Holmes, and he did all this great music. He didn't do the music I'm going to test out here in a second, but what I'm talking about, he did all that. And the spiders attack, he did that. And he's awesome. So happy birthday to Leon Kennedy. Everybody in the chat room, wish the guy a happy birthday, would you? Randy says, I clicked and do all those things because you're the best, Tom. Thank you, Randy. Randy always likes the shows and clicks the like and all that. So does, and on Twitter, there's two people that just knock it out of the park every time. Guido Samurai is not one of them. Sorry, I was just my brain. Lucas Malago and a guy named Bigga. Every episode, repost, and I should mention my good friend Ed Robertson. He does that as well when he's not writing best-selling books. But Jeannie says, I was not saying you. Oh, I know. Happy birthday, Wizard. Happy birthday. The most cheerful chat room on the internet is verified by independent sources. I clicked and do all this. I got that. Good evening, Tom, says CIA. I resent the implication that I'm stupid. I thought that was obvious. Not you. I'm not referring to you. Although, no, I'm kidding. What team do you support again? Anyway, Randy says Chef Tommy from from Hollyhock Hills said he would like to do a show with you, or at least an interview. Hollyhock Hills. I think the chef would agree with me that Hollyhock Hills used to be famous for that fried chicken. And can I tell a side story? I believe me, I'm the last person that wants to prevent people from hearing about a mining tragedy. But if I could just side rail for a second. When I was in junior high, we had Oh, the name of this lady is on the tip of my, well, it was Miss So-and-so. I could look on my old report cards. I still have them. We had, you had electives. And one of the electives you could take in junior high was home ec. And a lot of people took that it was one of the better electives. We didn't have like a full out shop where you worked on cars yet. If you were in shop, you made a silk screen and you made a game with a drill press, it was nothing elaborate. So you had something you had to take the other half of the year, and you normally would take home ec for two reasons. Girls were in it, and you made food, and everybody wanted to make pizza and eat it at school and make cookies and eat them at school, so they took home ec. Our home ec teacher was like the hostess at Hollyhock Hills. And so sometimes we'd save up a bunch of money and get one of the guys that could drive to go over to Hollyhock Hills so we could just, because, teenage boys. Hollyhock Hills, well, I might have to take advantage of that. Hollyhock Hills in Indianapolis. Wizard says, I'm old as hell, guys, 36 years old. I'll trade you. Happy birthday, Leon. Doopa Doopa Doo is here saying hi to folks. Always good to see her. Guido Samurai says, I'm clipping that. I don't know what you're clipping, but please feel free. CIA says, I'm the one that wins everything, unfortunately. Manchester City, Liverpool, you're going to be more specific. Leon Kennedy says, I remember making cookies and pizzas and stuff at school. It was awful. It always disintegrated before the end of the day. Well, if you did them right, I mean, yeah, sometimes they were still edible. When you're in junior high, what do you care? The pizza that we made was great. And they brought in extra cheese and stuff. I still remember that pizza. Let me tell you about the Farmington mine disaster. Blue Moon. That's got to be man's. Look, dude, just say the name. Okay? I mean, I understand you probably don't want to say the name. But, I mean, the one with 100 outstanding charges that they're never going to answer. Here's the song. Now, we'll judge right now whether I can put this song on loop and play it in the background lightly, Ken Burns style, during tonight's show. Any day now. Kind of sad. Man, it's taken me a while to warm up to this. Did you not have any banjo music? This is too disjointed to be used for anything. What would you use this for? Only thing I would use this as background for is like pictures of rain on a car's windshield. There's no. The Farmington mine disaster happened on. Yeah, I don't see this working for that. All I wanted was some folksy acoustic guitar music with, sorry, banjo music. Was it too much to ask for? For a little banjo, for crying out loud? I think this has turned into a quest now. Yeah, okay, let's be honest. Let's just go ahead. Of course, I could have made time during my busy day today to search out some music and test it out and do all that, but that would be, we've never done that type of thing on the show before. We've never excessive preparations. That's not what we do here. But now I'm kind of ticked off about it, to be honest with you. And now hey now, let me see here. Think you know these classic Hollywood legends? These rare facts will surprise you. It's not going to play the whole thing, so okay, I'm not going to look at it. My frame rate is down. I'll hold my head still so it doesn't seem like my frame rate is down, but it really is. I'll just hold my head still and not make a lot. Okay, I'm back to normal now. Oh, let me tell you, the things I do for this dumb show. You know, this will be the one show where I probably have people that were actually interested in the topic and are mad now because I'm vamping so much here. Oh, some of the stupid people that were here earlier have rescinded their subscriptions. You have to subscribe to be able to talk in the chat, so they've rescinded their subscriptions because they were blocked from saying stupid stuff. Banjo music. Here we go. Banjo music. Oh, wow. My frame rate is down to 0 now. Banjo music. Price? Oh, I think nothing would be fine. Apply. All right. That's happy, bright, uplifting. Babe, I'm coming home. Bright, chill, dramatic. Bright up. I don't want bright and uplifting. I want depressing mind disaster. Why doesn't it say depressing mind disaster? Any of these things? Oh, dramatic, sad. Let's see. I don't need any of that. Sad, chill, rock. It says Suzuki's theme, though. Okay, now I got to pick a genre. This is really making me mad. Folk and acoustic. Let's give it. Oh, well, that narrows it down quite a bit. Babe, I'm coming home. Well, that sounds like this one's called Dirt. Okay. This might work. I think that'll work. If not, there's another song here. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the title. The title is Fiddles McGinty. I tell you what, if there's a guy named Fiddles McGinty, I want him as a guest on this program. Oh, that's Irish as heck. All right, let's go ahead and I don't want to save it to my library. I want to download it, you poop stain. Download track. You witless stripling. Why would stupid people think I wanted to talk about the Dabbleverse? I got nothing good to say about the Dabbleverse. I mean, if you're into the Dabbleverse, then I'm fine. I'm fine. Go ahead and do that. Guido Samurai says you want Jesse Stewart. You mean the race driver? CIA says, yes, it's Manchester City, and if City get charged with, so do Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, blah, blah. Dude, they don't get 111. I hate that defense. Well, if we're in trouble, everybody else is in trouble. Not as bad as you are. There's been plenty of clubs that do a few little things and they go, okay, that's fine. 111? Oh, Jesse Stewart, the musician? You mean you don't have to leave your clothes on to have a good time? That Jesse Stewart? I think this music's going to work out for us kids. I think it's going to be worth it in the long run. I don't know why I'm not even remotely taking this show seriously tonight. The show's on an upswing. We're doing well. A little bit at a time, kind of. And just a tad better at all time. And a little bit. And now I'm going to ruin it with this show, which is far below the professional level that I've set for myself. I haven't been feeling well this weekend. I got a little something of that thing that's going around. I'm fighting it, though. I'm just a little draggy. And I have a ton of work to do tonight and tomorrow morning that I'll probably be up for. So I'm not that focused. We had a string of really great shows here. Never should have done the Shindig show. Oh, I can tell you what's coming up. Tomorrow night, Amelia Earhart, and then Patty Hearst, the kidnapping of Patty Hearst. And then Thursday is a missing gal named Tiffany Daniels. It's a mystery. And then Saturday, I'll do the history of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. And then Sunday, because Sunday I always do a famous old TV show that I like. So Sunday, I'm going to do The Twilight Zone. Up ahead. There's a signpost up ahead. On a road to reality. With the side road to not reality. You're in The Twilight Zone. Let's see here. Gene Genie says, this show was the break we all need from the Dabbleverse. Beautiful. Queen Samurai says, I'm a pretentious music douche. No, the Jesse Stewart that plays the banjo. He's most famous for his rendition of Cold Beer. I'll take your word for it. CIA says, well, why have all the small teams been charged so easily? It's about the revenue these clubs bring into the league, and City generate about 2.5 billion sterling. Good luck sending them to the third tier. Nobody's going to send them to the third tier. I didn't say that was going to happen. Although the reason they're delaying it is so that the time from which they benefited from their ill-gotten gains is far enough away from the actual trophies that no one will consider taking the trophies back. That's why they're doing it. The money's the money. The money's been spent and acquired and all that. Nobody's getting any money back. They just don't want Arsenal going, well, you should dock them this many points, and therefore we win that one title. That's what's going on there. That's what's going on there. Let's see. Those big clubs are always going to have more money than the little ones. Here's what I was going to do. All right. And then we'll get to the topic because I think you're going to like this. In fact, I don't even think I might not even preview it. I'll just start using it. Where's the thing where there's a thing I can do here. Oh, there it is. I will. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. Oh, new people in the room. That's literally the punishment they are facing. Wade Curtis says, I look forward to the Twilight Zone episode. Oh, it ought to be a good one. All right, let me just tell you some stuff here. That's not going to the punishment they're facing. Nobody knows what the punishment they're facing is because the charges haven't been decided yet. We'll see. Yeah, none of that's going to happen. It'll all be a negotiated slap on the wrist. Should have already happened long time ago if they were going to do anything about it seriously. The Farmington mine disaster was an explosion that had happened at approximately 5 a.m. on November 20th, 1968. Back at Console Number 9 coal mine north of Farmington and Mannington, West Virginia, United States. Why, I remember. Okay. I asked for instrumentals, thank you. What in the name of Sam Hill is going on here? Can I ask that? What in the name of Jehoshaphat P. Quimby is occurring? Because I asked for instrument. Forget it. Forget it. I'm not trying anymore. I'm not trying anymore. I'm just not. Stupid people. It's bad when they're stupid. It hurts. It hurts. All right. You try to do something nice. You try to do something nice and you can't, because I didn't ask for singing on my channel. I didn't ask for that. What was that all about there? Benedict Jones says, I, sir, happen to respect Mr. Gulley. He's a nice fella. Can you disgusting troglodytes leave the van? They do whatever they want. It's possible to be a massive jerk in my chat room and not get banned. It really is. It really is. But you can't be stupid. We don't tolerate stupidity around here. There's an epidemic, and we're trying to stamp it out. Okay, so the Farmington mine disaster, big explosion, November 20th, 1968, at the Console Number 9 coal mine, north of Farmington and Mannington, West Virginia, which I like to call West Virginia. It's just a lot more fun. By the way, one of the people, not Victoria, I hid you, but then I unhid you, so you're still around. Unless you've rushed off to create another sock account. Now, this explosion was no small explosion. It was large enough to be felt almost 12 miles away. But we got to go way on back. Way, 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 way back. Because the Console Number 9 mine was developed in the Pittsburgh coal seam, with its main entrances at the Farmington north of there. And that seam of coal is over 300 feet below the bottom of the valley, wherever it's at, right? So it's 300 feet down and it's 10 feet thick. So you go down 300 feet and then you got 10 feet of coal for a long time. The mine was originally opened in 1909, and operated by the Jameson Coal and Coke Company. The original entrance shafts were 322 feet deep. Even in 1909, it was noted that, quote, gases are liberating from the coal in the mine, so that locked safety lamps were used at all times. Now, originally compressed air power was used to undercut the coal, which was then blasted before horsepower was used to haul the coal, to the shaft. But within a year, compressed air locomotives were obtained for the mine's railway inside of it. They used horses at first, and then they got compressed air locomotives. And compressed air is important because that means there's no spark or flame, which is going to make for explosions of those liberating gases, which I'm sure anyone who's had Mexican food can relate to. Between 1911 and 1929, the Jameson number 9 produced over 100,000 short tons of coal per year. Yeah. But in early 1930, production fell to over 4,000 short tons. And then after they kind of had gotten everything out of the mine, 100,000, 4,000. It was closed for 3 years. And ostensibly during those 3 years, they found some new, better coal, right? Or sources of it, because production resumed in 1934, and it was like 1,200,000 short tons per year in 1956. Now, in 1954, in November, an explosion ripped through the mine, killing 16 miners and leading to a temporary shutdown. And in addition to those 16 lives, the explosion destroyed the head frame of one of the mine shafts. So that explosion occurred when they were removing pillars underneath there in the mine, and that was being conducted as part of what they call retreat mining. It's basically just removing pillars and mining. At 5:30 a.m. on November 20th, 1968, an explosion, which in Western Virginia is called a splosion, shook the mine. Now, it was so strong that a motel clerk reported feeling the vibrations 12 miles away. Miners living in the area heard the noise and, knowing what it meant, headed to the mine, where they discovered a rapidly spreading fire with flames shooting 150 feet into the air. Within hours, 21 miners made it to the surface, leaving 78 trapped deep underground. The fires continued to burn for over a week, and on November 29th, rescuers finally admitted defeat after air samples from drill holes showed air samples unable to sustain human life. The mine was sealed on November 30th with concrete, and it was sealed with concrete to starve off the fire by depriving it of oxygen. Nearly a year later, in September of 1969, the mine was unsealed in an attempt to recover the miners' bodies. Progress was slow, because workers discovered cave-ins they had to tunnel around. This recovery effort continued for almost 10 years. By April of 1978, 59 of the 79 persons had been recovered. Guido Samurai says, I'm too big of a, I'll just say, wimp to ever go into a mine, nevertheless make it a lifestyle. I know, it seems like a hard way to make a buck. And I mean, if you're even remotely claustrophobic, just the thought of going down there and being sealed up. One of the first shows we ever did on this program, well, after returning for a while. Anyway, one of our favorite shows was the Chilean mine disaster, because they found all those guys and they rescued all those guys and they got all those guys from deep within the Earth's crust. And that was a beautiful story. I'm sure a lot of those guys would like to tell that story. They can't tell that story. It's not tellable. for them. Sadly. Crappy at Life is here, and he is happy to be here, and we are happy to have him. What do we got going on here? Is there some weird stuff going on? Hold on. God dog it. Come on. Stupid. Okay. Yeah, they had some damage that needed to be expected, but out of all this tragedy, something good happened. The Farmington disaster was a catalyst for the passage of major changes in U.S. mining safety law. 1 month after the disaster, the U.S. Department of the Interior held a conference on mine safety, and it was about time. About darn time. I think when you think of the mines, you don't even think of them as safe now. And maybe they are, but you don't think of them that way. You see these guys going down there in these helmets and, just dirt on everything. And you're like, that can't be safe. Stuart Udall, congressman from Arizona, his opening speech at the Department of Interior Conference on Mine Safety specifically referenced Farmington and concluded, "Let me assure you, the people of this country will no longer accept the disgraceful health and safety record that has characterized this major industry." Hear, 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 hear. Anyway. As a result of the Farmington disaster, the United States Congress passed the 1969 Coal Mine Safety and Health Act, which strengthened safety standards, increased federal mine inspections, and created the Mine Safety and Health Administration and gave coal miners specific safety and health rights. And by the way, in November of 1968, Davitt McAteer, an American lawyer and activist from West Virginia, conducted a study of West Virginia mines after the Farmington disaster. In 1990, the Federal Mine Safety and Health Administration investigation into the accident concluded in part that ventilation in the mine was inadequate overall and most probably non-existent in some areas. Non-existent. Yes. In 2008, a memo written by an investigator in September 1970 was uncovered. In it, the inspector wrote that a safety alarm on a ventilation fan used to flush explosive methane gas from the mine had been disabled. So they disabled a safety alarm to get the gas, the explosive gas, out of the mine. Therefore, when the fan would stop, there was no way of anyone knowing about it because the alarm signal was bypassed. This was confirmed when in 2015, retired mine inspector Larry Lane testified in a sworn affidavit that he had been told by mine electricians in 1970 that they had intentionally disabled the alarm on a ventilation fan the previous year. Oh, and as you might imagine, kids, every time there's a disaster, we all know what follows. And that's litigation. What would happen if you went down there now? Would you need a mask, says Guido Samurai? I think you always need a mask and a helmet. Guido Samurai says, I try not to think about them and all, to be fair. Yeah, it's just claustrophobic. Claustrophobic. Let's talk about some litigation. Families of the miners who died in the blast were never compensated for their deaths. A lawsuit filed in Marion County Circuit Court on November 6, 2014, on behalf of the estates of the dead miners alleged that plaintiffs discovered in June that the mine's chief electrician, Alex Kovarbasic, disabled a ventilation fan that contributed to the accident. The lawsuit further alleges that the mining company, Consolidation Coal, has concealed the identity of the manager ever since the accident. After being transferred to federal district court due to diversity of plaintiffs' jurisdictions, the case was initially dismissed due to the statute of limitations around wrongful death suits in West Virginia. That suit was subsequently referred to the Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia by the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit due to a lack of precedent. The court determined that the statute of repose, it's similar to the statute of limitations, is an essential element of a wrongful death claim and had since passed. In 2017, families of the miners challenged the court's decision on the statute of repose by arguing that the knowledge of disabled ventilation was not present until recent years. This reopening of the case stated that the statute of repose claim was irrelevant to the case because the information used as the basis for the lawsuit was acquired only 3 years before. The circuit court went back to the West Virginia Supreme Court for determining questions on the basis of West Virginia law. The case has since been dismissed from the court systems. Well, of course, because it's West Virginia and their biggest industry is coal mining. And they've had disaster after disaster after disaster, and these companies get a slap on the wrist, and that's it. And, when you have a company that's going to bury any kind of information which would hold them culpable, well, of course the statute of limitations is going to expire, the statute of repose, because why would they use the language everybody else does? In West Virginia, it's just ridiculous. They fight all regulatory legislation in the mining, industry. We think every mine ought to have fresh air and, tanks and water nearby. I don't know. That's going to cost us some money. Now, alongside the resulting government legislation, the disaster has been remembered every year in an annual ceremony commemorating the miners and pushing for continued mine safety. The ceremony takes place on the Sunday in November that falls closest to November 20th, the anniversary of the explosion. The United Mine Workers of America host the ceremony. There's punch, hot dogs for the kids. It places wreaths on behalf of the deceased miners, as well as they have speakers for the United Mine Workers organization there. Alongside this ceremonial remembrance, the event urges attendees to push for legislation protecting miner safety. The gathering is attended by many family members, descendants, and prominent West Virginian politicians, such as United States Senator and well-known flip-flopping fence-sitter Joe Manchin, who grew up living minutes away from the mine and lost an uncle in the explosion. Ceremony is held at a memorial built in Mannington, West Virginia, directly over the spot where the number 9 mine lay underneath. The monument is a large carved stone etched into the front of the names of the 78 miners who lost their lives in the explosion. The memorial is surrounded by a fence and stream and is open to visitors year-round. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 100% all that I have to tell you about this mining disaster known as Farmington that is only second to the Manchester City finance fair play rule disaster. CIA left. I think I made him mad. I hope I did. I'm sure it's nothing he hadn't heard before. Oops. Guido Samurai says, what would happen if you went down there now? Would you need a mask? I think I answered that. I don't know. I wouldn't go down there without a mask. I wouldn't be able to work. I'd be all geared up. I'd be too geared up to work. Man, I'd be geared up. I'd have so much gear. Tomorrow on the show, we will have a very long show on the life and history and more of Amelia Earhart. Yes, the legendary Amelia Earhart will tell the amazing story of her journey to become a pioneering female and regular aviator. You know, female notwithstanding, she was a pioneering aviator. And then we'll tell you about her disappearance. Because she disappeared. She did. Guido said, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'd be all geared up. And then on Thursday, we will tell you about the disappearance of a gal by the name of Tiffany Daniels, still not solved, and weird, and creepy, and perplexing. On Saturday, in the afternoon time, I will cover the history of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus, the long and storied history. And you know, I think, and I've run into this before, there are people who believe that the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus is still in existence. It's not. It's been out of business since 2017, which is kind of hard to even grasp that, to be honest with you. But there's other circuses, and they come around, but they're not the gold standard of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. So anyway, I'm going to cover that. And on Sunday, you won't want to miss this one, I will cover the Twilight Zone. There's a signpost up ahead where reality meets confusion. You're in the Twilight Zone. Let's see here. CI says you'll just have to trust the process. I'm sure City will be punished. Maybe. Doubtful. I remember when Manchester City knew their place and didn't contend for anything. I remember when we gave them our goalkeeper and they were just a nice, timid, mid-table team. Guido Samurai says it's not. No, it's not around anymore. Wade Curtis says Man United better than Man City and Arsenal both. Sorry, Tom and CIA. I don't know on what you base that. Currently not, certainly not current form. A couple of those teams have been relegated before. One of them hasn't. I think Rodney Marsh used to play for Man City. Who I met. Man, oh man. Let me tell you. Can you imagine growing up in a place where, like, you knew probably that if you wanted any kind of life at all, you were going to have to go work in the mines? Now, I'm sure like any other job, you get used to it. You know, it's a job. And there's people that work their whole career down there in the mines and never had an accident, a problem, whatever. But it's a rough job. I mean, it is a physically demanding, difficult, back-breaking type of job. You got to be tough for that job. I look at it the same way I look at working on the airlines. Like, could I be a flight attendant? Yeah, well, wait a minute. There's a few barriers to me being a flight attendant. One is my height. Another is my low-grade hostility to the general public at large in terms of service. Yeah, that'd be about it. But can you imagine if that was your job? Every day, if you're a flight attendant, pilot, let's not put them on the list. The pilots chose to be on the plane, okay? They're doing their thing they love. I always wanted to fly, you know. Don't put them on the list. That's just not. But the flight attendants, certainly, that's your job. It's a working class job. You know, you're carting drinks, you're checking belts, what do you need? And I was like, can I help you, sir? And are you okay? And we'll be landing in about 15 minutes. All that. It's a working class job. And it's not bereft of safety concerns. And let's forget the planes that just auger into the ground and there's no hope. There's a lot of other mishaps, shall we say, in the air. There's times when something mechanical goes wrong and the pilot turns to you and goes, we got to land somewhere. And I mean quick, fast, and in a hurry. I got this light here. It's not responding. That happens a lot more than people let on or that you necessarily know about. And frankly, why should they tell you? I don't want to know. When I'm on the plane, tell me after, fine. In fact, I don't even want to know after, now that we're on the subject. There's issues landing. There's issues taking off. Have you ever had a hard landing? Bam, hard landing. Those flight attendants, they have a lot of injuries just from opening up the overhead storage stuff, out in the bam and the... there's issues now with all these crazy people on the planes, right? You've seen those videos where, ma'am, we're going to have to ask you to, and the drunk people and the whole, but the biggest thing is being locked in a metal tube when the captain's, or even on takeoff, because the most dangerous times are at takeoff and at landing, historically. And just being in that jump seat waiting as the flight attendant during the takeoff, and you're like, that doesn't sound normal. You know what I mean? I don't want that job. Guido says, like a coal miner's underwear in June is a great line of cinema. I was proud to be a coal miner's daughter. Wade Curtis says, based on me liking them, and that's all. Oh, based on you liking them. Well, no one can disparage a supporter's love for their football club. That you just can't. That's what makes them special. I don't disparage you for liking Man United. I question your taste, but I don't disparage you. I think perhaps you were a bandwagon jumper in the 90s into the 2000s, but I don't disregard your incredible love for Manchester United. I don't. I do not. It's interesting. I used to hate Roy Wagerly when he was a player, and now I like him a lot. Roy Wagerly, did I say? Roy Keane, let's try. Roy Keane. Now I love him. When he played, number one, I always knew Vieira was better. But number two, I was like, why is everybody so scared of this guy? Everybody talks about what a tough guy he is, and it's like, they don't look like it to me. What is he, 5'8", 5'10"? CIA says, I miss the days of Paul Dickoff. Mark Vivian Foe was a great player. His death will always upset me. I remember Paul Dickoff. He was a good player. A really good player. He was a damn fine player. I do remember him. We gave you David Seaman. Of course, he wasn't any good at that point. But Wade Curtis says, constant jet lag would ruin me working as a flight attendant. I think the ones I've talked to, they tell me they don't get jet lag. Because they don't look at the clock the same way that we do. Now they get tired because they do some 7 to 7, they do some 12-hour and sometimes longer if you're stuck on a tarmac somewhere. They do some very long, stuff. But the other thing about it is, okay, look, I live in Dallas-Fort Worth. We are a giant hub for a couple of airlines, right? And therefore, there are flight attendants that live here all over the place. Now, they're kind of weird because they don't really live here. When I'm on one of these dating apps or something, they'll say they live here, but they don't. They're based out of here for their job. So they might share an apartment with another gal that doesn't live here, or they might know somebody that has a room that they use in their house, that they live in Oklahoma, they live in Arkansas, they live somewhere else, and they drive in, right, to Dallas the night before or whatever, and they go to their little room and or half of an apartment that they share or whatever. And then they get on a plane, do a bunch of stuff. They might even fly overseas because we're an international airport. They might, fly overseas and then do flights over there for a week. And then they come back here, land, sleep at their little room, and then go back to wherever they're from. Lawton, Oklahoma. And so when you see them on the dating, if anybody says flight attendant, you just swipe left immediately. They can sometimes be kind of flighty, no pun intended. Well, I do live in Dallas. All right, well, let's do something tomorrow night. Well, I'm going back to Lawton for about a week, and then you don't live here. Also, they all want to travel. Now, I don't know why you'd want to travel if your job is traveling. You know what I mean? But that's fine. Anybody should be able to do anything they want to do, if that's your thing. But I don't want to travel. I'd like to travel over to the couch and then travel to the refrigerator. I'm not particularly interested in breaking any new world records and circumnavigating the globe or now see, this is an executive, lives in Dallas. Perfect. This gal here bought a leather vest she's proud of. It's in 2 of her pictures. I'll swipe right on that. But you got to get down to the bottom on Bumble to see what they actually. Okay, new Braunfels. That's not close enough. I'm sorry. Let's put this away. But I was trying to find a flight attendant, but yeah. All right. Well, kids, that's all I got. As I said before, tomorrow night, Amelia Earhart. By the way, Amelia Earhart, very, very, very interesting story on this woman. I covered the whole thing. I got pictures of everything and very interesting stuff. And then her disappearance is very interesting, as is the 9 million people that have said that they found her, or at least tried to. On Wednesday night, by request, the kidnapping of Patty Hearst. If you guys don't remember when this was going on in the 70s, a lot of controversy about Stockholm Syndrome, people becoming attached not only to their kidnappers, but their kidnappers' crazy anti-governmental philosophy, etc. Interesting show. Thursday, we're going to cover the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. And then Saturday, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus. And then on Sunday, the Twilight Zone. Unless, of course, you're currently in the Twilight Zone and this whole show has just been an aberration. It's hard to say. Where's my music? I really got ripped off by that song. That song was going so well until the girl started singing. I said instrumental. I'm not using YouTube's music anymore. Their search feature is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Believe me, I search for music all the time for various projects I'm working on. Theirs is awful. It's awful. Trust me on that. So with all that being said, truthfully, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. It says it's time for me to Amscray. Actually, I got to make some dinner. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, we'd like to thank the stupid people for leaving. And the only thing left to say, really, is till next time. We'll see you next time.
Tom Gulley's here. G-U-L-L-E-Y. He's here to stay. G-U-L-L-E-Y. The Gulley guarantee. That's what the people need. We're all here to see Tom Gulley. G-U-L-L-E-Y. G-U-L-L-E-Y. Tom Gulley's here. G-U-L-L-E-Y. He's here to stay. The lights are low, so start the show. Tom's here to go, so let's